What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Manji TV. On today's episode, we finally got our brand new to us S55 engine in the box here. We have our old S55 here for the M4 under this tarp. We got a freshie for the car. It's got 28,000 miles on it currently. We're gonna get this thing open, take a look, and see what we got. So I'm super excited to get this box open. Let's go ahead, stop talking about it, and just cut this bad boy. All right, guys, Eddie's got the wiring harness all completely on. We've got the flywheel on, and we are currently replacing the gaskets on the oil filter housing. We've got some new gaskets in there. We're gonna get this thing tightened down to 21 Newton meters and get this intake manifold on the engine. And then at that point, we can start to work on the crank hub. We're gonna replace the crank hub on this motor, make sure that he never has to deal with a spin again that happened to the old motor. We'll get the car in here, get the subframe out, and start installing this engine. So excited to see this thing finally get some progress and get it all together. All right, guys, we've got the motor here on the table. We've got everything dressed up, basically. We're starting in on the crank hub. We've got our flywheel tool on the engine rigged up so that doesn't go anywhere. We've got our crank pin in the crankshaft, so everything is to TDC. We also have our cam tools on here at the top. We currently just removed the plug so we can access the bolts to our timing cassette. Crank bolt has already been broken free. We just ended up impacting it. Right now, I'm gonna detension the vacuum pump chain. So we're gonna push this in and put the timing chain tool in there for the vacuum pump, and then we can start breaking our camshafts and pulling all the bolts out of our timing cassette and pulling the timing out completely. We'll set this thing up here so you guys can watch. All right, guys, we're sorry the GoPro did die in the middle of the crank hub install. We still need to do our final torque on the crank bolt. We did get about half the rotation, so it's 100 Newton meters plus 270 degrees. We did put our big vacuum cap in, our oil pump, vacuum cap cover in. We did put our smaller cover in. Crank seal is in. Everything's been torqued and marked. We have our tensioner back in. Tensioner for the belts on. Flywheel's obviously been torqued. So we're gonna go ahead, actually get the car in here now, get the subframe off. We will be putting the transmission on, which is right there, onto the engine here shortly, but we have some help currently to get the car in the shop. So the way we're gonna do this is just tow it via the tow strap with the truck all the way around the shop till we get to the back, and then when we get to the back, anyhow, this thing is dirty. We're also gonna be installing some H&R, lowering some springs, and some brand new brake pads, because the brake pads, probably can't see, are smoked. So let's get to it. All right, guys, let's get a quick look. No, that's your electronic power steering unit. Look at what's left here in the engine bay. We've got our one sub harness that goes to the chassis. AC pump still chilling in here. A few coolant lines. Obviously the wiring for the electronic power steering. Got our wiring for the fan. That's about it. Almost everything else is out. So we're gonna go ahead, drop that subframe, get it positioned underneath the engine, get it torqued to the engine, and then we'll go ahead and get the transmission bolted to it. It's time to put it back in the car. So we should have it in the car here shortly. We're almost there, so I'm excited to see this thing in the car, get it running again, and get this customer back on the road. Anyhow, everything's looking great. So let's go ahead and get to it. All right, guys. Normally I would just pole stand it and bring it down, but Eddie doesn't want to carry it. I don't know. So we're gonna go ahead and drop the subframe onto some wood right here. I'll support it, take the car up, then we will position the engine on the subframe. We'll get the motor mounts torqued to 46 Newton meters to the subframe, and yeah, get this bad boy in the car, finish the final torque on the crank hub main bolt. Everything else though is ready. The intake manifold's been torqued. We do need to pop the spark plugs out, get some new spark plugs, and that's pretty much it. Put the valve cover on with the new valve cover gasket. We did put some new O-rings on the turbo inlets because those were looking quite hard. We do need to swap this water pump out because the connector is broken, so we'll get that swapped out, and pretty much everything else is good to go. All right, guys, the time has come to get the S55 back in the car. We got the subframe underneath it. Everything is good. We've got downpipes in here loosely. Wiring harness to transmission has been installed. Everything is clipped in as it should be. One of the last things we're going to do is put the valve cover on once we get it in the car and do the final torque and check of the timing. Everything else is looking great. AC pump is hanging down. We'll go ahead and have to feed that into the location where it goes. We'll have to clip on our DCT cooler lines, but everything so far, and like the steering shaft, but everything so far is looking good and ready to go in. So without further ado, let's just get this bad boy back in the car and try to get it running today if possible. So anyhow, I'm gonna set you guys down and get a little time lapse of us installing this thing. All right, guys, subframe is in. The electronic power steering unit has been plugged in. Steering shaft has been connected. Tighten that. Transmission cross member is in and torqued. The ground here to the engine has been torqued. Obviously, all the transmission bolts are in. We still have 2 loose here because we got to do the final torque on the actual crank bolt, which we'll be doing here in a second. Some of these coolant hoses have been routed. The DCT lines here have been connected. We got to put 2 13mm bolts through the front frame horns and the subframe there. Subframe torques to 81 foot-pounds. All that's been done. Drive shaft we're currently torquing. We will leave it neutral here. So we've got it zip tied there for a second until we're ready to finish that up. Once we've torqued the drive shaft, we will go ahead. It's scary. It looks like there's no crush washer on this drain bolt. We'll pop that drain bolt. We'll put a new crush washer on it, maybe even a new drain plug. The end links still need to be torqued. The control arms still need to be torqued, but they're tight. We're almost there, guys. We'll go ahead, wrap up kind of everything down here on the bottom, get that exhaust stuff finalized, and then we will go ahead and start putting in our trim panels. We'll get some coolant in this thing, some oil, and give her the first start here, hopefully within the next hour or 2. We'll see how long it takes to get through all this, but still got a bit of work to do. Still got a bunch of stuff to put on, like the exhaust system here, cross members, heat shields, and whatnot, but we're getting there. We're getting there. The pile of stuff over here has gotten quite small. We obviously also have to finish up the valve cover and all of that goodness. We got some new gaskets for that. We'll also put some new spark plugs in the bad boy here shortly. But anyhow, let's keep cranking on. We've got the heat shields in currently. Everything is tight and ready for the exhaust. The downpipes are still a little bit loose, so we can play with the orientation of these guys as we get the exhaust in. So we're gonna go ahead, fit the exhaust, and get everything oriented as it should be. So we'll go ahead and put the scoper down. Guys, huge progress has been made. The fan is currently in. We're finishing the routing of the last coolant hoses. We got to get the lower hose in, getting the auxiliary pumps in, and all connected. We'll show you from above here. We're going to put the hardware here in the bottom of the radiator. We're going to put the auxiliary pump onto the actual fan assembly here, but everything on the bottom side is basically done. The exhaust has all been put in and torqued, and braces put in and tight, so we're literally nearing completion. The car has 7 quarts of oil in it, ready for start. The fuel lines, vacuum lines, everything's been connected. We're just gonna wrap this up. We'll show you here in a bit how all the cooling system is and get this thing started here shortly. All right, guys, inlets in, intakes in, all the coolant hoses basically. Everything's been connected. We still gotta put the bracket on for this coolant reservoir. The intercooler has been tightened. We're gonna go ahead and put the charge pipes in here in a second. Currently putting in some spark plugs. Got to tie this connector down, put the other inlet in, but we're almost there. So looking good. We'll get this thing test fired here shortly. Got just a few more things like coil packs and some hardware for the underbelly pans, some hardware for the strut brace, but we're almost there. Super excited to hear this thing run. All right, guys, all of the wiring, intakes, everything to make sure this thing is ready to run has been completed. We're gonna hook up the scanner now. We're gonna clear all the adaptations. We're gonna set the Valvetronic start-stop positions, and just run through all of the Valvetronic learning process to make sure that this thing runs as according to plan. We do still need to top off the coolant and bleed the cooling system. We just want to give it a quick test fire, make sure that everything runs and sounds right, and we'll see how she starts here. We'll be sure to capture the first start on camera here. All right guys, so we have a little misfire on 2 and 5. We're gonna double check the injector connectors are seated correctly and see what's going on there. Otherwise, the motor sounds okay. It sounds like it's got a little skip to it, so we'll double check that everything is good. It may be that these injectors are bad. They came out of another car, so we really don't know. It's possible some dirt during shipping or something got stuck inside the injectors. It's really hard to say for sure. We do have some other injectors in the other motor that we can pull to test. We're gonna go ahead and just pull the charge pipes back and pull this cover out of the way so we can get a better look at everything and see if we can't get this thing to operate correctly. So I think we may have just had a little issue with the connector for the coil pack on 2 and 5 not being seated correctly. We're going to clear the codes, start up again. I think everything will be all right. You don't even have to plug those in. We'll just run it real quick, clear the codes, and just rerun it.
Oh, not even tight them?
Yeah, no, just for idling, it doesn't need to be tight. So we'll go ahead and clear the codes real quick. See if she doesn't run right now. Take a look at these codes we got. Cylinder 2, cylinder 5, several misfires, fuel injection switched off, so we'll delete those real quickie. No other faults to really worry about. So, easy fix, guys. For whatever reason, the connector just didn't seat well. I actually didn't do those, so that was Eddie's fault, but we're not blaming anybody. Simple things happen like that. After having this whole thing apart, that's really a minor problem. We've got it dialed in. She sounds super smooth. All right, killer. We're gonna bleed the cooling system real quick. We'll run through the rest of the adaptations and we'll get this thing here on the road. But so far so good. Very happy with the outcome of that. That was an easy fix. I'm a happy guy. After doing a motor swap like this and a crank hub and so many things, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's a lot of parts that could be bad on this motor, or who knows, that were damaged in shipping or installation. And so it's very nice to hear this thing run. I'm a very happy guy now. And we'll wrap this up. We'll get it all bled. We'll take it for its maiden voyage here shortly. We do still need to do the brake pads, like I mentioned, and the springs. The springs, although haven't shown up yet, so we'll probably do those later. Anyhow, let's wrap this thing up and get this thing on the road. All right guys, Eddie's currently changing the brake pads. As you can hear, we're letting the S55 warm up. We've bled the coolant. We're letting it just run to make sure there's no oil leaks or coolant leaks. Everything so far is looking great. He still has one more side to do. These brake pads, if you can see there, are completely smoked. So we'll get those done. We'll get the underbelly pans on. There's some of these trim pieces left. The cross member and the transmission cover and the big engine cover here at the center of the car. So enough said, let's get her together and get it on the road. All right guys, we're just finishing up the install of the cross brace here and the carbon strut brace. Basically everything has been completed. We've tested the car, ran it for probably 20-30 minutes now. We've bled the cooling system and all is good to go. So we're gonna finish this up. We did put all the underbelly pans on from underneath, which we'll show you here in a bit. And we're gonna take this thing on its maiden voyage shortly. All right guys, the cross strut brace is in, carbon strut brace. Everything is on, all the paneling. Everything is looking beautiful. All of the underbelly pans are tight and wonderful. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get this thing down here in a second, take it for a drive. All right guys, that's it. Last thing to do is torque the wheels. We got the new brake pads installed. We'll double check the coolant level. We'll check the oil level via the screen inside the car. And then we're gonna take this thing for a drive. So ready to see it leave. All right, guys, we're in the car, officially on its maiden voyage. No lights on the dash. Everything so far feels good. Rolled in her a bit more there. Everything's feeling good as it should. But anyways, if you guys like this type of content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Although this video's not over, so stay tuned for some full throttle pulls. All right, guys, the car is running wonderfully. I've done like 3 or 4 really hard stops from about 60 miles an hour to almost 0. You never fully want to come to a stop or let the car heat soak the brakes just sitting still, so you got to keep it rolling. So brakes feel great now. Pulling out onto the street. After these train tracks, I'll make a full throttle pull here, starting at about 3,000 RPM. Spinning through third. I've made some pretty hard pulls and no issues thus far. We'll double check everything. Again, check the fluids one more time. When I do stop, I will check the oil level as well, but I put 7 quarts in it. I know it's fine. All right, guys, we've finished the car. We've topped off the coolant multiple times, checked it. Everything is perfect. We did have to add a little oil. As you can see here, she's at max now, so all good. Car's cleaned, looking perfect. We're gonna scan it one last time, make sure there's no codes, and let the owner take the car home, which he's smiling, he's super happy. If you like this video, be sure to check out the next one, and if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe and like the video. It helps a lot. Thanks, and see you in the next one.